Good Monday morning, everyone. How are you? Hopefully you had a wonderful weekend. It's weird, like last Friday, I was so happy that it was the weekend, and I realized I'm not doing anything different because I'm just stuck at home anyway. Business owner and candidate, 10th Senate District candidate Cherie Link is my very special guest this morning. I'm Ben Dryden. You're watching DrydenWire Live. We had a great week of guests last week. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. And this week we are once again jam-packed with guests. So today, again, Cherie Link. Tomorrow, I'll welcome back Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald. He's always awesome to talk to. Wednesday, I'll be joined by Wisconsin 25th District Senator Janet Bewley. On Thursday, small business owner, alderman, firefighter, and first responder Kirk Anderson will join me for a chat to wrap up the week. On Friday, I'll be joined by Wausau School Board President, Ho-Chunk Supreme Court Associate Justice, and Democratic candidate in the 7th CD race, Tricia Zunker. Welcoming her back for a second time. So, okay, let's get our guest on today. If you could help me welcome. There she is, Cherie Link. Cherie, good morning.
Good morning, Ben. How are you today?
I'm great. So first of all, thank you very much. You were actually scheduled to be on our show Friday. And then I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, somewhere last week, Scott Walker's, team or person of contact said that he could come on, because I'd asked a while ago if he wanted to come on. He could do it, but he can only do it Friday. I'm like, I kind of have a guest on Friday already. He's like, well, we really can't do another one. I mean, maybe following week. I'm like, ugh. So I called you, and I said, all right, are you a Republican? And you said, yes, I am. I'm like, all right, well, you're going to take one for your team, because Scott's going to want to be on. So I don't know. I mean, if you want to, you still can. And you were incredibly gracious and said, no problem at all. I'll do Monday. So thank you very much, actually,
Absolutely.
for doing that.
I really like Scott. He can take over any day.
Yeah, he was actually, I was really surprised. He was incredibly engaged. I don't know if surprised is the right word, but maybe it's because he's not the governor anymore. He can kind of just speak more freely, but he was really engaged. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it, but I thought he did a really good job.
Yep. Love Scott Walker.
Yeah, so for the people who don't know you, fill them in. What's your backstory?
So grew up in Polk County and have been in St. Croix County for about 18 years. My husband and I own a couple small businesses here, retail businesses. And we've got 2 grown kids that are off to college. We've got a couple foreign exchange students. We have been a foster care provider for 16 bonus kiddos in our house over the years.
Not all at once. That's 16 at once.
Not all at once.
Good night.
But we did have a very full house for a very long time. And so I've just been active in the community, active in our schools, active in our chamber. And it was time to throw my hat in the ring.
Okay, so before we get into the politics stuff and why you're running and et cetera, you're a business owner. You said how many? You have 2 businesses?
Two retail stores, correct.
2 retail stores. Are they still in business? Well, I'm assuming not. I mean, I don't know what they are, but how is this, the coronavirus, how has that impacted your businesses?
So we were actually proactive in closing our business a week before the order actually came out. And the thought process was, okay, can we help flatten the curve before it gets to be too extreme? I would like to believe that our business is essential. My customers would probably agree to some of the things that we offer, but we needed to do our part. As a business owner, one of the hardest things you have to do is when the decisions that you make impact other lives, and knowing that laying off our employees was not only impacting them, it was impacting their families, it was their source of income. And that's a hard pill to swallow. You have to evaluate so many things that you're doing. We're at zero income. We still get to pay our bills. We still had inventory that was already received that's now sitting there collecting dust. But we need to ensure that we are doing our part in this whole thing. A lot of small businesses put their life savings on the line to open, and small businesses honestly have small profit margins. And so there's not a lot that we're working with. One of the things that I've seen over the last few weeks is a lot of our networking groups, a lot of our chambers are doing Zoom meetings.
Mm.
And so we still have that opportunity to connect with other small businesses or other local businesses. And I'm hearing that there are some that are closing that are not going to reopen.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think this is my signal to do. I want to flow my hair back, right? Yeah. I could hear it on the mic.
All
That's
right.
awesome. Yeah. So that is one thing, unfortunately. So how do you balance that? The safety of the public, the safer at home order from Governor Evers. And then also, obviously, this is going to impact a lot of businesses. And the reality is a lot of these businesses, even if there wasn't a safer home order, or if there were and they weren't told that they had to shut down, probably wouldn't be able to really survive right now anyway. I mean, because nobody would want to go to their business. So how do you balance that? When you look at this and you look at what Governor Evers' his order was for the safer at home, and then as a business owner, do you think he made the right decision? If you were there, if you were in the Senate, would you have advised differently? Would you have done something differently?
So I think our personal stance of closing our business prior to the order speaks volumes about, I agree, we all need to be doing something, right? One of the things that was really concerning through this, though, is when it was rolled out, when we were told about it, it was, we've got 30 days, everybody stay home, and it's a done deal. But there weren't a lot of facts when that order came out. So again, through my networking groups, through my chambers, there were a lot of questions. We didn't know what to expect, what's essential, what does this look like? And there was a sense of panic. There are people who don't have the resources to fund 1 week of not having income coming in, let alone 1 month.
Right.
This is a very dangerous, very deadly virus, and it's fluid, right? So we need to be finding solutions that are also fluid with it. Um, I think maybe looking at a 14-day initially, saying, okay, we're going to be reevaluating this every week. I think perhaps that could have made a better impact on some of the people that went into panic mode. We need to be keeping a watchful eye on it. Here's an example. Governor Cuomo yesterday said for the first time, New York has experienced a decrease in the number of deaths there. This virus is changing, and what are we doing to change with it?
Well, I saw, I think just this morning, and I didn't know it was just New York. I thought it was maybe even in the entire country. It was the first day that it didn't go up in terms of deaths in one day. So that's a start, but obviously a lot of other projections are showing this is going to be a rough week. And I'm sure there's a website I could put on our Facebook page or put it under this when we're finished about there's this model, and you can just pick a state or just the country, and it'll kind of tell you when it's going to kind of peak. So it looks like we're not there yet. So what advice do you give business owners right now that are either shut down or maybe they're not even going to be able to make it through this? What advice do you give them?
So I think it's been interesting watching the creativity of some businesses. Our business, we've been working really hard to get our online store up and rolling. What are the things that we can do in the background that people can still have access to things?
If you don't mind me asking, what is that business actually?
So we have a retail store that is called My Happy Place, and it really is my happy place. And pretty much every woman, send your wife down, she'd love it. So we have home decor gifts, women's apparel, accessories, repurposed furniture,
Okay.
and not essential, correct?
Right.
But it's interesting how creative businesses are getting. So my husband works out at the local health club. And the other day I walked out into the kitchen to get a glass of water. He's doing his workout, his boot camp on Zoom in the middle of the kitchen.
Ooh,
It took, it took everything I had not to photobomb, like pretend I'm walking down the stairs.
Oh, you totally should have. That'd been awesome.
It would have been, got my glass of water and left the room. We're going to be rethinking. Every business needs to be rethinking what they're doing.
Yeah.
Example, my family owns Indian Head Glass. I grew up in a family-owned small business. And we've had to close our showrooms by appointment. So we can sanitize our entire showroom when customers are coming and going. We've got time in between. Whatever they've touched, we can clean. We've got control of the space there. Some of our showrooms aren't very large. And so wearing gloves, wearing masks, what do we need to do to keep everybody safe? And I think this is a critical time for every business owner to look at what we're doing. Can we set up sneeze guards? Can we have, I saw one store that the customer had the scanning gun. They were scanning the products themselves, keying in the information in the keypad for their credit card. And really there was very minimal contact with the store clerk. So we're all going to need to be looking at and evaluating our processes. What can we do to limit contact and help stop the spread?
Yeah, and last week when we had our guests on, most of them were either business owners or a part of something, and they've all either like a sheriff or even I think we had Sawyer County Judge Johnny Eckel on, that it's kind of forced you to adapt a little bit. However, a lot of these things that we're doing now or they're doing now are going to be things that when it's all said and done, it's actually going to be kind of the new SOP, right? We're just going to start doing it this way because we found it to be actually more efficient. Now, unfortunately, it's a very bad situation, but like anything, we can find something good that comes out of it. And I do think that is one thing that we're kind of being pushed in this other direction when maybe we should have been doing that to begin with, but we didn't really have to. But now that we have to, it's, man, we should have done this like a year ago.
Well, no different than 9/11, right? You know, you look at the process of going to the airport now and same thing, right? You know, it took a big shakeup for us to really evaluate what we were doing, how we were doing it.
So before we get to the election stuff, just out of curiosity, when do you think we're going to get out of this? When do you think our economy is going to get back to where it used to be?
Isn't that the $1 million question?
Yeah, if you have the answer for it, I'm ready. Go ahead.
Right, I know. Well,
what's the date?
It's hidden. It's. I've got it hidden in my back pocket.
All right, text me later.
So it's interesting because we need to look at this and understand that a one-size-fits-all isn't going to work. Of course, Milwaukee and Madison are in a far different situation with number of cases because they have more people. You posted yesterday that our area has had 7 confirmed cases out of all of the tests. While 7 isn't 0, we would prefer 0, 7 also isn't a large number. And we've kind of naturally been socially distancing, right? We have smaller communities. So is it going to be possible for maybe some of our more rural areas to get some kind of waiver and have a soft entry back in where we have a plan in place? We know what we can do to keep our customers safe, our employees safe, and maybe we start to do a slow rollout in some of our areas where we're not having a lot of contact with people.
Yeah, and I hope that happens sooner rather than later, obviously when it's safe. But some of these businesses, man, they got to get something back. They just do. So look out. Well, I want to get to some election things here. Actually, you know, speaking on our community, and it's kind of social distancing anyway. We have a lot of farms and farmers. Let's face it, they've just been getting hammered for quite a while now, and this certainly isn't helping. You're around a lot of farms. What impacts have you seen on local farms because of coronavirus?
Well, first and foremost, boy, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, right? And there was a song, "You don't know what you got till it's gone,"
sure,
for the lyrics, right?
Yeah.
And this gives a whole different perspective, right, to our gratitude, our extreme gratitude to our farmers. You walk down the aisles of your grocery store and all of the people that played a role in getting that food on the shelf and to us to be able to provide for our families it's humbling, and it really makes you look at the processes, right, and being grateful for everything that we have. There was a bipartisan assembly bill that was just put out that got great support to give our farmers some additional resources. Let's face it, they are almost $105 billion of our Wisconsin economy, and they need resources. I just did a farm tour here a few months back with a local farm that I grew up with. Now the second and third generation are running it, and we need to ensure that they've got the tools they need. So our property tax limits. We need to keep those in place to make sure their taxes aren't skyrocketing.
Yeah.
The ag credit, that has to stay in place. Unfortunately, that assembly bill got put on hold because the Senate could not meet on March 24th, rightfully so,
Right.
with the pandemic. But our farmers need help. And what can each of us do? Buy more dairy, buy the resources that are going to help support and keep them in business.
Yeah.
They're dumping milk, and that's horrible to see. I believe, Ben, that our society would be a much different place if all of us had to eat ice cream every day. We would all be a lot happier. So here's my plug: cheese and ice cream, and we're all going to get through this just fine. Buy more dairy.
And then we'll talk about, furthering our obesity rate, but that's okay. At least we'll be happy.
Go for a walk while you're eating your ice cream.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those things, though, that, and I'm not trying to be insensitive to farmers, certainly, duh. But I kind of feel like farmers are just kind of in the same spot a lot of businesses are right now.
Right.
So you tell me, are they separate from just like your shop or other businesses? My brother owns 24/7 gyms. Of course, those are all shut down. Are we kind of just all in the same spot? Like at this point, if you're a farmer or a small business owner, we're all kind of struggling through this.
We are, but it's interesting because you talk to different businesses and you look at short-term versus long-term. So I was talking to a realtor the other day. Well, they're still busy, right? Because they've had people in the works that have to buy, have to sell, regardless of what the circumstances are with the pandemic. So they're still busy. What is that going to look like in 3 months from now? They potentially could see an absolute shutdown.
Right.
Farmers, what should they be doing right now? We should be getting prepared for crops in the field. And are they going to have the funding to be able to do that? What is this going to look like? What is that trickle down going to look like? So many of us are focused on the short term. There's a long-term picture with all of this as well.
Yeah, and I suppose farmers are unique in the sense that if let's say your business with your gifts or the clothes, that's your income, your revenue, and you certainly employ people. But people could probably live without it, where maybe farmers are kind of going, okay, if we can't do it, where are you going to get your milk? Where are you going to get all your other stuff? These are necessities, actually. So I guess there is kind of a difference there. Right.
There is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this the coronavirus, there's kind of two parts to this, I think, at this point. There's obviously the impact of the safer at home. Then right now, it's the other part. That's the elections, which has just been an absolute debacle, it seems like. What is your view on the elections? Actually, hold on. I have something that's actually on our on DrydenWire.com. It's on our Wisconsin links. I think it's our second link down this morning. And this is from Politico. I just want to read this. Mayors from some of the most populous cities in Wisconsin, including Milwaukee and Madison, are calling on the state's top health officials to shut down in-person voting on Tuesday's primary. According to a letter addressed to the Department of Human Services Secretary-designate Andrea Palm, it states in part, "We implore you to implement all emergency measures necessary to control the spread of COVID-19, a communicable disease. Specifically, we need you to step up and stop the state of Wisconsin from putting hundreds and thousands of citizens at risk by requiring them to vote at the polls while this ugly pandemic spreads." The letter is signed by 10 mayors, collectively represent 1.3 million people, and they ask Palm to exercise the power to close down the buildings where the voting occurs and prohibit public gatherings. What are your thoughts on that?
So ironically, who's on the ballot for this upcoming election is Supreme Court Justice, right? Mm-hmm. And this is where that is so key, because what they are trying to attempt to do is voter fraud in so many ways. So we have already in the state of Wisconsin sent out more absentee ballots this spring election than the entire last spring election actually voted. We have people that have their ballots. They have them in hand. They've mailed them back in, and they have had the opportunity to vote without going into the polls. Yeah. So two parts with that, right? Our polls are ready for this. We have sneeze guard screens set up. I am working at our local polls tomorrow to help out. We are going to be sanitizing pens. We have the 6-foot policy in place. People will be limited to access into the building, so we have enough space for everybody coming and going. There are a lot of procedures in place, and for the number of people that have already voted absentee, I think we're going to be well covered and we'll be able to do just fine.
Well, I guess what I don't really understand is the concern there. I mean, I get the overall concern. COVID, we don't want to spread that. But a lot of us are still going to places like your local store, like here it'd be a Economart, or if you have to go to the hardware store to get something, and they still have those 6 feet thing. Everyone's got tape down. I stopped to get a necessity, coffee, on the way here this morning at a gas station, and they got their tape 6 feet, 6 feet, 6 feet. I pretty much just throw my credit card at them, and they run it and throw it back. But we're all doing it. So what's really kind of the difference? I mean, in the polling place, it's the same thing essentially, right?
I completely agree. And it is a necessity that we keep the voter integrity as is and allow people to go to the polls and vote like we always have.
Well, I also think that, and let me know your thoughts on this, that since it was extended, the absentee ballots, and everyone's been pushing it, if you haven't voted by now and didn't plan on voting tomorrow, like going there, maybe you just didn't want to vote. And I'm sure there are some exceptions to that, but not that many, right?
Right. Like I said, we've had more absentee ballots go out already for this spring election than we did the entire last spring election for people voting.
Yeah.
If you wanted to vote, you voted.
Yeah. So what is the political part of this? Is it is this a Republican and Democrat thing? Is it a power play? Because most things always end up being political. So is that it? And I guess that's the part I don't understand. Like, what's the problem?
Well, yes, I think there are people who are going to politicize this, and I have my own personal opinion on that.
Oh, what is it?
Well, I believe that we are losing our voter integrity by people pushing this agenda. And our founding fathers had it all figured out a very long time ago. Our Supreme Court, we need to ensure that those justices are following the rule of law with these crazy ideas. We are able to do our voting, our normal voting process safely. Why do we need to mess with it?
Yeah.
There's nothing that's going to jeopardize anyone's health anymore than, like you said, going to the gas station to get a coffee, going to the grocery store to get your milk.
Or just mail it in like you've had forever to do it.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
And I walked mine in and handed it to the clerk through the little hole in the glass wall there.
Turn it into a little plane and just, shoot it through the window.
Although if it was my airplane, it would kind of go like this.
Mine never went straight either. Oh. So you're running for the 10th Senate District. My first question is, why not Assembly? So that would be, what city do you live in?
So we are the southern corner of Somerset, and we have an incredible assembly person.
That'd be the 28th.
Already.
That'd be Gay Magnifici, right?
28. Gay is unbelievable, and she needs to stay doing what she's doing. Sure. She's doing a fabulous job.
Sure.
So not going to step on her toes.
Got it. So you're running as a Republican, and also Rob Staffsholt from the 29th Assembly District, which sounds like you're right next to the 29th District, aren't you?
Yes. Probably within about 2-3 miles. About a quarter of a mile from the 30th.
All right, so
I'm kind of right in the.
So he's running as Republican. You're running as Republican, and the current the incumbent right now is Senator Patty Shockner. I think it's Shockner. It's Shockner. Yeah. I think it's Shockner, right? Why did you decide to run for this?
So much of my background is, of course, the foster care, the business owner, the working through our churches, our schools. I personally have been impacted by so many of the decisions that are being made in medicine. And we have people making those decisions that might be sitting through a listening session and getting opinions from a dozen people, or sitting around a table with a number of people that, I think, but so few of them actually have experience in what that looks like. And classic example is right now with the shutdown. And the impact on business owners with that, right? Mm-hmm. How many business owners are legislators that truly understand what this looks like and how laying off your employees impacts you personally and impacts your economy and your society? We need people that have a working understanding, helping to create legislation and finding ways that actually work, that it's not a shot in the dark. So. Sure. It was time. We've gotten off track with a lot of the policies that we're putting in place.
What would without getting at, going after either Rob or Patty, but why should people vote for you? Obviously, first in the primary. What is that going to be? August, what is that, 12th?
August 11th.
August 11th. Why should people vote for you? I mean, if they're a Republican, why vote for you instead of your Rob Stafford, also a Republican?
Right. Rob's a good guy. He really is a good guy.
I like Rob.
I like Rob, too.
Yeah. I like you, too, though. So I like everybody.
Thank you. So I had mentioned that we have two grown biological kids that are off to college, right? I understand firsthand what that college tuition looks like and what they're going to have for debt when they get out of college. I understand what small businesses are going through. Through foster care, it was hard watching some of the decisions being made that were not efficient. That's my tax dollars going out the door. And that's just one small part of government and what they're doing. I work my butt off with everything that I do. And that's not going to stop when I get down to Madison. I am very well connected in my communities. I've been doing sales for Indian Head Glass for 22 years. My district is my territory. I know every single insurance agent in every single corner of our area, and I know what the issues are. I've grown up here. I've lived here, and I get it. So if you want somebody with a working knowledge that hasn't been a government employee or doesn't understand what those decisions do to impact us, I'm your gal.
Do you think Senator Schuchner is doing a good job?
Senator Schuchner has a good heart. She does. And she's done good things in our community. One of the biggest differences is what I've accomplished on the private side of our industry and understanding what that looks like. I feel a lot of times that we have a lot of people in politics that say, well, I'm going to work on both sides of the fence, and I'm going to listen to everybody, and I'm going to do what's right for my district. But then you turn around and maybe your friends on social media avenue, and you see all these memes that are put out and all this divisiveness. And I look at that and just shake my head thinking, how can you say that you're representing both sides when you're turning around and really destroying or ripping apart half of the people that you're representing and half of the people that you're supposed to be working with? We've got to get some common sense back into what's happening, and we've got to be reaching across the aisle and understand how the decisions we're making impact so many people.
I always find it funny when they say, we need to, our friends across the aisle need to. Anytime I hear friends across the aisle, I know it's a political statement because they're not your friends. But it's so funny. Anytime I hear, we need to work with our friends across the aisle. Okay, whatever. Because you hear a lot about that. I think most people really do just want someone who's what they think is going to be right for the district, and that doesn't mean that a Republican or a Democratic approach is either right or wrong. You're going to do what you believe, and people are going to vote you in, then whatever. But I do find a lot when you look at we need more bipartisanship. Well, unless it's like a no-brainer bill, it's very bipartisan. And just about everybody votes. You look down the list, and it's like 98% you vote in your party lines. And it's just, you can't keep saying that we need to do it when you're not doing it. And I think, honestly, I think people are just tired of that stuff. I really do believe that just the average Joe and Jane, just come on.
Well, and what's interesting with that, Ben, is, we need to understand that boots on the ground are the best way to get things done. Our Constitution was written by we the people, and pointing fingers and placing blame doesn't get us anywhere. But when we are all working together, we can get a lot done.
That's what my wife tells me all the time. Because I'm always pointing fingers and placing blame. She said, just work with me.
Yep.
All right, fine.
That's a wife thing.
Whatever you say, honey. I learned a long time ago. Just, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Yes, honey. Yes, dear.
For whatever. I'm sorry. So have you thought about, though, since you haven't been in politics really up till now, or you're running for it, how are you planning on dealing with, Social media. Because we've had some guests on. We had Romaine Quinn about a month ago. I think we may have touched this with Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald last week. Certainly with Scott Walker on Friday. About there's just this dehumanization of politicians where they don't see you. They're not seriously. If you get in, it's not Cherie anymore. It's not even Miss Link. It's now you are a Republican and that's it. You're a Republican and you're a politician and that's all that matters.
And because of that, I'm suddenly a very, very horrible human being.
Yeah.
That's hard. I have worked very hard to make a difference in so many areas of my life for so many years. And you get the same people that were giving you an Attagirl 6 months ago now saying that I'm a horrible person because I have, I'm a Republican.
Yeah.
I'm still the same person. I'm still going to bust my butt to be volunteering and to be making a profound difference every time I can. But that doesn't hold water with a lot of people.
I know. And it's not just like at Republicans, it's Democrats too. This is universal. That people they just go after you just because you're just not a person anymore. So get ready for that.
Right.
I haven't gone on to your Cherie. Well, I'm assuming most people that follow you must have a Facebook page.
Link for Senate.
Link for Senate. I haven't gone on there. Have you had any of it yet?
Yes.
I can't. I'm going to go on there now and look at them. Do you respond to any of them? Because sometimes it's hard for me not to, but I try not to.
Right. So the negative comments I typically don't respond because my thought is they want to be heard and I listen, right? That we can't be reaching across the aisle unless we understand what all the problems are. But typically I don't respond because
they're idiots.
It inflames people. And
I mean, yes, that too.
Yeah. So my team will sometimes respond and I tell them, okay, once or twice and then just let it go because there are people that you're just not going to win that argument.
Yeah, and they don't actually want an answer. They just want to argue for it. Yeah. And sometimes, so that's, if I do respond, I just keep the argument going. I don't actually try to answer the question. I just keep it going just because it's funny.
There you go.
Yeah. Therapy helped with a lot of that. In the Bible, those two things have gotten me through a lot of that hate stuff, man. You just got to just laugh at it.
You got to let it roll off. Yeah. And truly, I pray for a lot of the people that will make those kind of comments and not in a negative way. Their voice matters and their opinions matter. And I pray that we can all find peace and common ground and work together.
And I pray that they get hit by a Mack truck when they walk across the road. God doesn't seem to hear those prayers, though, because there they are the next day, still commenting. Cherie, what else do you want to discuss that we haven't had a chance to bring up?
Oh, gosh. Okay. We've got our election tomorrow, and I enthusiastically endorse Supreme Court Justice Daniel Kelly. He is a phenomenal guy, will not legislate from the bench, and he needs our support. No better time to see that than what's happening right now and what you just read with what legislation they're trying to pass. We have little control over this, and we need to be sure that through all this, we are taking care of ourselves. We are taking care of our health, our mental health, our physical health, eating ice cream.
Didn't you just bring up ice cream and cheese for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? My brother's business, by the way, is going to boom when this is finished. His gyms, because we're going to all gain 30 pounds in the next 3 months.
Right? It's good. But through that, too, we need to take care of our soul. And there are really good things that can come out of this. I see families posting pictures of their homemade meals, and we're playing more games. We're doing more puzzles. We're spending more quality time together. And we need to stay focused on that once all of this is done. There are people that are hurting. We need to ensure that they are getting the help that they need. One of my favorite Bible verses is Jeremiah 29:11. And it's I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans for you to prosper and not harm. Plans to give you hope and a future. And Ben, in no other time than this is that more important. This is in God's hands, and He's got us. Yeah. So, not to spoil the ending, everything is going to be okay. And if there's somebody out there that's hurting and just needs help, needs some hope, please reach out. Reach out to me on my Link for Senate page. I will find resources. I will do everything I can to give people the resources that they need. We have a little sign in our store that is so appropriate right now. It says, "Wash your hands and say your prayers, for Jesus and germs are everywhere."
That's awesome.
Pretty appropriate, right?
It really is. Speaking of memes, I was going to put up, but I figured I really shouldn't. I saw one where you were talking about families and the things that they're coming up with. And it was a dad at home, dad or a mom sitting at home in front of their home office having to work from home. And they had 3 kids, and they're all duct taped down to the ground. I'm like, that's so inappropriate, but so funny.
Well,
yeah, we're all adjusting. We're all adjusting.
Social distancing baptism with the priest holding the
yes,
the
baptism. He's 6 feet away with the squirt gun.
We're getting creative. It's all going to be okay.
Yeah, totally. Oh, Cherie, you were great. Thank you so very much for being here. You're always welcome to come on. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Ben.
Special thank you to my guest today, Cherie Link, and thank you for watching. We will see you right back here tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. when Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald will join me again this week. So until then, stay safe, keep your social distance, and have a blessed day.